How you doing? It's your boy BrogiNaric back again with another episode of TV Aftermath. And in this video, I'm giving my spoiler review of Amazon Prime's Invincible. The series just had its finale last Friday, and I'm going to be giving my full spoilers thoughts on the series. Already talked about the first 3 episodes, but those dropped a couple weeks ago. But just going to talk about the whole series. I'm going to have a little non-spoilery thoughts at the beginning, and then we'll get to spoilers. If you want to skip to those, the timestamp is in the description. And before I get into this video, don't forget to like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. We're still growing, and we use your help, so thanks for doing so. So the Invincible series is based on the Image Comics comic book, which was created by Robert Kirkman, who you may know from The Walking Dead. Corey Walker and Ryan Ottley, those like 2 co-idea guys, 2 co-artists throughout this main artists throughout the series. And this is a comic that I've been reading sort of off and on for a while. I've read like 3 volumes, but they were like after the main story. So I knew what the main story was. I read that years ago, but I only own like up to like volume 6 so far, and I'm familiar with this series. It's been around for a while now. I think it started, I don't remember when it started, but it's been around for a while. They've been talking about doing a movie, and they're still planning on doing a live action movie. And this, just like this series, it was helped produced by Seth Rogen's team, him and I forget the other guy's name, Evan something, and they're still working on the live action movie too, so I can't wait to see how that goes down. But this animated series is amazing, like really good. Like the source material is solid, but I loved pretty much all the changes, except for maybe one change that they did of how they adapted this source material into a cartoon. Really good. Like I don't know who the showrunner was and who was in charge of really adapting this material to a different medium, but they did a great job in how they changed certain character elements. They made characters more developed early as opposed to later on, which gives a little more oomph to the series. Certain things they changed about how certain characters look. There's a lot of added diversity, which in my opinion didn't really change anything for the negative. It was just mostly positive. They change certain character designs. They all look really good. But yeah, really good show. The cast is like A1. This is probably one of the most dense casts I've ever seen in an animated project. You know, Steven Yeun, Sandra Oh, J.K. Simmons, Zazie Beetz, Walton Goggins, Jillian Jacobs, Zachary Quinto, Clancy Brown, Kyrie Payton, Mark Hamill, friggin' Mahershala Ali, John Hamm, Seth Rogen, Gary Anthony Wood. Like, there's so many people. There's other names in there too. This is just star-studded cast all around. Amazon, I was a little worried when I saw some of the trailers. I was like, animation didn't look that high quality, but as the show went on, the animation is really, really good and really solid, especially when they really put in the money to do those big action sequences. Looks amazing. And of course, the soundtrack is really dope. They got some really good songs in this. Some songs I've heard before, some I've never heard before, but it all flowed very well. And so those are my main non-spoilery thoughts. It's on Amazon Prime. Go check it out. It's worth your time. If I had to give it a grade, it's a definite A+, 10 out of 10. Fucking amazing. My favorite show so far. A great superhero property that's been brought to the mainstream. I love that these independent series, Amazon's been doing a really good job with it. It's the same with Netflix, where they're taking these sort of big independent comic books that are outside of Marvel and DC, petting them on their streaming services and giving them this mainstream acknowledgement and mainstream push, you know, like The Boys, Umbrella Academy. Doom Patrol doesn't count because that's DC. I'm trying to think of another one off the top of my head, but like Invincible. There was another one that Amazon did, and I'm struggling to think of it right now. But I love that these things are getting their shots, their time in the spotlight, and can't wait for more of that to keep going on. But those are my main non-spoilery thoughts. So up to this, it's going to be full spoilers. Oh, spoilers. One of the big things that this series did that was different in the book that I really liked was the whole mystery or the whole investigation of people figuring out who killed the Guardians of the Globe. Because in the book, you know it's Omni-Man, but it's not that drawn out in terms of the mystery aspect. And the fact that you have the, Damien Darkblood character, who, there's a character like him in the book, but he's more of a joke. He looks more like Rorschach as opposed to Hellboy. He's got like a demon mask, but he's dressed more like Rorschach than looking like Hellboy in a fedora and a trench coat. He's more of a joke, but in this version, he's more of an actual detective trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And I like that he's that little tit for tat between him and Nolan and him talking to Debbie, and the fact that Debbie's more involved in the story. Because in the original book, in the first volume, she's kind of just the happy housewife whose life just gets turned upside down at the last moment when she finds out that her life has been a facade due to her husband lying to her all this time. I like that she has a little more, agency in the story where she's actually trying to investigate what's going on, and some of the moments between her and Nolan, like when the episode when he's like she realizes something's going on and Nolan's trying to convince her that he's not evil and they're having a little vacation or whatever. Stuff like that was really good. Their dynamic was really good. And of course, the moment when he reveals like, "Hey, I've just been lying. I don't really care about your mom like that. She's more like a pet to me." Like, that's cold-blooded, and that is from the book. That was something that was like, it really hit. Like those big moments from the book, they really hit. And other things I like the structure. A lot of the stuff that happens from like episode, I guess from like 3, like from after he kills the Guardians to the moment when he's found out. The majority of the stuff in the series happens in the book after Omni-Man has had his fight with Mark and he's gone from the Earth. Like Mark going to Mars, Mark fighting the cyborgs at college, the new Guardians of the Globe forming, the whole thing with him getting jumped by the villains and getting beat up by Battle Beasts, all him dating Amber, all of that stuff happens later after he's dealt with Omni-Man. There's some other stuff that they cut out of the book, like I believe there was a plot line where there was like a teacher at the school who was experimenting on the students, and that was like the first villain that Mark truly fought. I think they cut that out. I don't know if they're gonna throw that in the next season. There's a whole, like I said, him and Amber don't really become a couple till they go to college. They move most of the college stuff to him still in high school. It was, like I said, the restructuring of this really worked, because I was a little confused. And I like that they did that, because it's not just a direct adaptation of the book. Kind of keeps you on your heels a little bit. And it works. It works for me. Yeah, that stuff was cool. I like the... Well, let me just get it out of the way. The thing I did, because there's so much I did like. But the one thing, and I think a lot of people felt this way, was episode 7. This is after the whole incident when they visit the college and Williams, the guy he has a crush on, gets turned into a cyborg and his life is fucked, and Mark and Amber's had a falling out because Amber's like, keep lying to me, what's going on? And Mark eventually tells Amber, like, hey, the reason I've been kind of bullshitting you, I've been lying to you, I've been kind of not being always, kind of flaking on you is because I'm a superhero. I save lives. I'm invincible. And Amber is like, yeah, I know. And I'm still mad at you for lying to me. And Mark is like, but it's a secret identity. Like, I don't know if I can trust you. Like, look, this is high school. This is a big deal. And the moment when she's like, well, you shouldn't have lied to me and get out of my face. Like, a lot of people was pissed off at Amber. And yeah, that is something they added to the show. She does not do that in the comics. He eventually tells her is when they're in college. And I think it's either before or after he goes on the Mars mission, because he's gone for so long. Like in the show, I think it's a week, but in the book, it's like two to like almost a month of how long he's gone on that Mars mission. And I think either before or after that, he breaks it to her like, look, I'm a superhero. This is what I do. And he recaps everything that happens up to that point, him fighting his dad, all that other stuff. So yeah, they really shitted on the Amber character. I thought that was kind of a weird take, and I didn't like the bit at the end where they just kind of, she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, your dad is evil, and I should have realized that you were going through things." Like, no, fuck you. All right, fuck you. Now, granted, they do kind of be like, "Well, Mark, you did kind of string her on." He kind of did. I give him that. But for her to be so not trying to see his point of view and just being like, "Oh, you lied to me. You should have told me your deepest, darkest secret." Even though we just started dating, it's not like him and it's not like he was friends with her before they started dating. Like, they literally just knew each other as they started dating. So it wasn't like they'd known each other for years. They were childhood friends or some shit. So that was bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's not like she's Gwen Stacy and they were childhood friends and then they started dating. Like, no, that was ridiculous. And I thought it was weird that they made Amber at that moment very unlikable after they made her a black woman, because she's not black in the books. She's like a white girl with blonde hair. But I thought it was kind of weird that they made her so shitty once they turned her black. I thought that was bull. I kind of side-eyed that moment. I will say that. But yeah, fuck Amber. And for those who don't know, spoiler, he does not stay with Amber. They break up at some point, and he ends up marrying Eve and all of that. So whatever. So yeah, that was the one thing I was like, what was that about? And then for them to be like, "Hey, I guess we could kind of do a relationship thing again now that I'm like depressed because my dad is an asshole," type shit. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? So besides all of that, another thing that I really enjoyed, which I knew it was coming, was the violence. That moment at the end of the first episode when they show Omni-Man beating the shit out of the Guardians, that's different from the book. In the book, it's like that. The next thing you know, they're all dead. But in the book, I like how they expanded it where you actually see him struggling to fight them, just to make it more entertaining and seem like Omni-Man's not too powerful, but he really is. But like the Guardians was still a bit of a threat for him. That action sequence was crazy. The fights, of course, was it episode 5, which is the one where Invincible teams up with Titan. That opening where Titan just pulls up on these Asian gangsters and just beats the shit out of them, like it was crazy. Like, the guy shot him and like ricocheted the bullet, threw a gun through a guy's head. Like, they really go in with the violence when it gets there. It's a good balance between like wacky humor and violence. I think the book definitely leans more into the humor, especially in the earlier stuff, because it's more of a superhero parody as opposed to this one where they cut most of that stuff out. And I think they did that because a lot of those jokes that they did have been done a lot throughout the years in terms of, oh, let's make fun of the goofiness of being a superhero. Like, so they cut a lot of that stuff out. Because Mark in the books is also more closer to Spider-Man, where he's more of a wisecracker, and in this one he's a little more reserved. He makes a couple of jokes, but not as many as he would do sometimes in the books. So, you know, that's a slight difference to his character. Another great action sequence later in that episode when he just gets jumped by those villains. Yeah, I knew it was going down, but damn, that shit was wild. Especially when the new Guardians came in and they got their asses beat. Battle Beast is a beast for real. I know he's a bigger character later on in the stories, so I can't wait for him to come back. That was wild. He beat the shit out of Monster Girl and Black Samson. Because in the book it's a little different. He beats up Monster Girl, but he actually beats Black Samson into a coma. And it was another character, Bulletproof. It was another superhero. It was him and Bulletproof who got beat up the worst. Black Samson was in a coma for a while. Monster Girl got messed up, but she got so messed up she couldn't. It took a drain on her powers, and she couldn't use her powers for a while. I think they're cutting that element of the story out a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll pop up in the next season. Because for a while she couldn't use her powers because, you know, the more she uses them, the younger she gets. And after that fight, she used too much of her powers, so she starts using Black Samson's battle suit as a way to combat that. But it seems like they kind of cut past that. Black Samson now has his powers. I kind of like that they're giving Black Samson a little more to do. They took out the Bulletproof character, who is another young superhero, kind of like Invincible. He actually later on in the series, he becomes Invincible for a while. Like, Mark retires or something, and like Bulletproof takes over. So maybe they're saving him for the next season. I'm not sure. There was a couple other villains that was in this point of the book that they took out. They might bring in the next book, like I forget his name, but it was a guy who could like travel through multiple dimensions, and then he uses a device that allows him to connect all his alternate dimension versions into one being. And he comes back later in the story. He was working with the Muller twins. They might do that in the next season. Yeah, so there's, like I said, there's a bunch of other stuff that they can go. This book gets crazy. I know there's like a whole war with the Viltrumites. When Mark actually gets involved with the Viltrumites, it's gonna be crazy. Because like Mark now, he's invincible, but he always gets his ass beat. When he comes in contact with actual Viltrumites, it's even worse. Like, if you thought him getting beat down by his dad was bad, like, that's someone who loved him. And the only reason Mark survived was because his dad loved him and decided to stop beating. When he's fighting against other Viltrumites who don't give a fuck about him, it is way, way tougher for Mark. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of more blood as the series goes on. Another thing, Adam Eve, played by Jillian Jacobs. Really good. I love that. I enjoyed that character, and I loved her version of the character. I loved that moment where they show her with her parents and just how shitty her parents are, especially the dad. Yeah, it was kind of crazy in the book. One of the things that's different is because in this version Will is gay, in the comic he's not, and Will and Eve date for a little bit. Like after she breaks up with Rex, her and Will start dating for like a hot second, and then she breaks up with Will, then she leaves home, and then that's when she goes to be like help out the world type of thing. Which they changed all of that, and I like the change to Will being gay. It works. It wasn't as overdone as I thought it was going to be. Will was still a fine character. Will in the comic is a little more annoying. He's a little more jockey douche bro kind of guy. He's not a terrible character, but he's just kind of whatever. And this one he was a little bit better, especially when they did the storyline with them on college. Him actually being, as opposed to him just being this random friend of theirs, mostly the friend of Will's. The fact that he's like someone that Will had a crush on, and there was a little more an emotional connection and urgency for him wanting to save that guy and also wanting Invincible to help him. That was really good. That was a really solid episode. And so the moral of the story is basically Omni-Man is a piece of shit. That whole fight at the end of episode 8 was epic. In the comics, that's considered one of the great fights in a comic book when him and Mark go at it, and this did not disappoint. Of course, the moment where the fighter pilots are there, Mark goes to save this one fighter pilot, and Nolan's just like, that was a waste of time. Like, humans are futile. Why are you wasting your time? He just reaches out and just crushes that guy's head. I was like, oh, damn. Like, I did not see that coming. And then, of course, the other bit where he punches him through the city and Mark struggles to save that building. And then, of course, the really fucked up bit where he takes him to the subway and he, like, holds his head in front of the subway train and let the train, like, run into them. And then, like, he's just stuck there with the bodies and the metal that's coming at him. If they do this movie in live action, they have to keep that in there. I'm not sure if that's from the comic, but when they do this movie in live action, they said they're going to do it. That has to be there. Like, because that is a wild moment. Like, holy shit, that was crazy. That shit was rough. Another character that they did a lot more with early on and who comes in a little later is Cecil. I liked Walton Goggins as Cecil a lot. I like the duality of this guy. He's essentially Nick Fury, government agent guy with secrets with secrets. Always got something up his sleeve, and I liked how they're hinting. Because I think in the book, Cecil does become a little more of a pain in the ass for Mark, and I like how they're slowly hinting at that's going to become a problem later on. Seth Rogen as Alan the Alien, I thought was a good pick, and I liked how they handled the character. He's very close to how he is in the book, and I can't wait till they explain more of his backstory. Because you got a little bit of it at the end where he's like, "Oh, my bad. I was supposed to warn you because I didn't realize I was at the wrong planet, but I was, actually have to warn you that there's a Viltrumite on Earth." And that's kind of his job. Is when he says he goes to planets to fight to test their protectors. The reason he does that is because the coalition that he's working with, if they can find people that can beat up Alan the alien, then they might be powerful enough to fight a Viltrumite, and they need more people to fight Viltrumites. So that's basically what Alan the alien's job is. They'll explain it next season, but like when he goes to different planets, if he can find someone that can beat him, that can kick his ass, basically if someone can actually like beat him and like rip him apart, then the coalition's like, hey, we need to see if this species is willing to help us. We need someone like that to fight the Viltrumites. But that's what Alan the alien was originally. As he mentioned, he was genetically altered. He was created to fight the Viltrumites, but he's not tough enough. He's tough, but he's not tough enough to fight a Viltrumite. And he got destroyed. They always. That's kind of like a constant thing that he gets his ass kicked. So like Invincible, but then he has to be like recreated and genetically altered to bring him back to life. So he's a good character. I know there's a lot more with filming in the series. Can't wait to see that. Really can't wait to see more of what happens, because the way that this series is pushing through the story is by the next season it's going to be far beyond where I've read at, and I know there's some stuff that happens with Robot. I can't wait to see where that goes, because his storyline comes in later. The fact that they rushed through the whole him getting the human body thing so quickly is I was shocked by it. That was a big shock. I was like, oh, I didn't realize we were getting to that so soon, but I like how they handled it. And can't wait to see where that goes. Apparently there's some stuff that happens with Rex, although I'm not sure if it's actually Rex or if it's Robot as Rex. I'm not sure how that's handled in the book. I don't know if it's Robot posing as Rex, or because in this they know that they're two different people. So I don't know in the books, because I haven't quite gotten there yet. I don't know if he disguises himself as Rex because he doesn't make himself a clone of him. I don't know, but I thought that's an interesting way they're gonna handle this. So yeah, once again, check it out. It's really good, really dope. Check out the comic. That's some I've seen a couple of spoilers. That's some wild shit that happens in the comic, especially with Mark. I was randomly searching. That's some wild shit that happens with Mark when he comes in contact with the Viltrumites. Hopefully they'll keep. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Hopefully they'll keep that in the story, because that's such a crazy thing. But yeah, it's gonna get wilder. Can't wait for the next season. Let me know what you thought about the series in the comments. And thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.